Hi, folks. So this is really getting off in a very weird uh, settlement. I talked about the little houses that HUD was going after, but I never really found anything that really specified the trailers and RVs. And basically, it's the same situation, and I listed the reasons before, so I'm not really going to go into that. I'm not going to go into the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development proposal or rule to change in what constitution a manufactured home specifies, whether or not a recreational vehicle could be classified as a residential living space or a primary residence or any of this other such stuff. But I want to basically go into this because now they're attacking RVs. Because now you can live in your RV and be anywhere and do anything, and you're not government compliant because you are off grid. And guess what? In the end, nobody really cares, but HUD does. Why? Because Homeland Security does. Why? Because FEMA does. Because the IMF and the U.S. Federal Reserve do, because of their owners who don't want you off grid. Along with everybody in between who will probably mark this up to terror charges at one point or another. So, tiny homes and RV living isn't for everyone. And basically, living in a high rise in a city or a rural patch of land might not be everybody's dream, and a suburb might not also be. All Americans have their own unique and individual ideas of how and where to live. It's part of what makes us who we are and what we are. So basically, they're talking about limiting recreational vehicles for non-primary residents and various sources of that sort. So this goes above and beyond the tiny home. This goes into basically double wides and everything else. Eventually, it's going to go into everything that isn't absolutely mandatory. It'll soon be illegal to live in a trailer, basically. That's what this is saying. I know plenty of people who have their MDs and everything else who, well, maybe not necessarily an MD, but something along the lines where they're making good money. They're single. Nobody really wanted to get married, this or that, so they're like, all right, cool. So they have a little house or a little trailer on a little piece of land or something. And that's that. So now HUD is going after them because off-grid living was now illegal. So all these trailer parks, folks, eventually it'll be closed down. You'll no longer be able to live in a trailer. You'll no longer be able to live in an RV. Oh, you're camping? Well, how come you've been here for 9 weeks? Oh, you're doing this? How come you've been in this post for 18 weeks? This is not your primary residence, sir. Please go back to your primary residence. Here's the eviction notice from your camper, sir. You are not allowed to live here. They're going to try everything. Eventually, they'll get their way in one point or another. And basically, that's exactly what they're trying to do. Basically, these are designed not to be, or designed only for recreational use and not as primary residence or permanent occupancy. And that's basically their argument, basically because you're basically off limit or off grid. You have all your electricity, you have a local source of water, you're good. Everybody's happy, right? No, not everybody. Not the people who can't track, hack, and wiretap you. And then take you to 6 different counties, 3 different countries, and 12 different provinces because, well, shit, you paid your $80,000 up front or your $280,000 for your primary house. The only difference is yours can move. Great. Oh, no, it isn't good because it's not a primary residence or primary occupancy? Well, too fucking bad. Kiss my ass, suck me dry, everything else. I apologize if any kids watch this, but this is actually the way I feel. When my father was living in South Carolina, they had a trailer because he was in the Army. They paid nearly nothing, made a shitload of money. they were able to live. When we were in Arizona, there was a partial trailer that we lived in. Not a bad idea. Now that we're in Michigan, the family owns a little trailer off in the distance. A little ways, it's not so bad. It's actually quite nice. Can house about 10 people, this and that. You know, you can have a couple parties outside, enjoy the park, everything else. So, I think the people running HUD should be on the terror watch list. I'm pretty certain, at least the upper management of this, because they're looking to do something real stupid. And the definition of terrorism, ladies and gentlemen, is to basically do bodily harm to an individual or group of individuals with political support. An agency counts as political support. And by removing them from a minor living house and forcing them to pay more bills and stay in one spot, well, you're kind of limiting their job and everything. So, yeah, you are kind of basically committing terrorism against everyone who's living this way and has been since like the 40s. So, I mean, by definition, folks, the people of HUD and all their overseers are committing terrorism against every American they don't want in tiny houses or RVs, trailers, etc. I mean, by very definition, that is exactly what it is.